then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we have one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you clear to land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. Do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here. So just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello. Hello. How are you all doing out there?
Yeah, good.
Thank you very much for joining us on this Thursday night. The perceptive ones amongst you and those who've watched regularly will notice that I'm slightly somewhere different tonight and a little bit smaller and all that. And I'm also working on tiny screen. So tonight's going to be a little technical tour de force. So I apologise for all of the mistakes and the delays and everything else in advance. But before that, I have to thank Sky Demon for sponsoring the live stream. Without Sky Demon, it wouldn't be possible. And if you have not tried Sky Demon, if you are that person, I suggest you go down to the App Store or Google Play or wherever it is that works on Android, download yourself a copy and give it a go for the 30-day free trial. This tip will probably come in useful for you. So here you go.
Hi, I'm Hannah from Sky Demon, and welcome to today's top tip. When you're flying, Sky Demon gives you some useful instruments to help you navigate to your destination. The ground speed, distance, time, altitude, track and wind. You can tap on them to toggle distance to the end, the estimated time en route to the next waypoint or to the end. Altitude can be toggled to height, and the wind instrument can be toggled to show the simple arrow with the headwind or tailwind. For more information about using Sky Demon, take a look at our user guide, which you can access from our website.
You see, I didn't know about that height thing a little while ago, and I found that height thing very useful should I be wondering whether I'm actually 500 feet above the ground, which of course I always am when I need to be.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, yet again, I did something I didn't know Sky Demon did.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Amazing.
That's it.
Cool. Excellent. So where are we? Let me just toggle between my windows here, and I have to keep looking down. It must be time for some weather. And we are joined tonight by Simon live, and this will be a not hugely smooth transition, but let's add Simon in there, and let's, how can I do that? Oh, I press that one. No, there you go.
Evening,
Simon.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Even better for going flying today. So I'm a happy bunny.
Excellent.
Did it go well?
Oh, it's just fantastic. So good to be back up in the air. It was a little bit bumpy, but it was okay. Yeah, what a great day. Great visibility, cloud base about 8,000 feet, and just fantastic. So I'm a happy boy.
Cool.
Should we do a bit of weather?
In that case, give us some happy weather.
All right, I'll try my best for you. Let's have a look, shall we? This is how it looks. This is for tomorrow. So this is how things are shaping up for Friday. I just want to point your attention today to the charts that you see here in the top right-hand corner. These are the cloud ceiling forecasts. And as we go through the charts for this weekend, these are going to be pretty important. What we're looking at is green colours are cloud bases 2,000 feet and above ground level. The yellow is 1,000 feet and above ground level. And the orange is 500 feet and above. So really what we want to be looking for, most of us, is that green colour. And just notice tomorrow that we've got the oranges and reds across western parts of the country, western Scotland, northwest England, western Wales as well as across much of Ireland, all associated with the warm front that you see here. So pretty low bases. However, across central and eastern areas, notice the white colours here, and also notice the white colours across central and eastern Scotland, indicating we will see breaks in the cloud. Those cloud bases are going to be much higher as well. So decent conditions out towards the east and the north, although it will be quite breezy, I think, through Scotland during the course of Friday. Saturday looking like this. Some early morning mist and fog patches for England and Wales, I think, on Saturday, but still got this southwesterly flow. So it's a tropical maritime flow, which basically means warm air come up from the tropics, it's flowed over the Atlantic Ocean, picked up loads of moisture, and of course by the time it gets to our shores it's starting to cool down, it condenses out, it causes lots and lots of low cloud. So we're going to be seeing some low cloud across western coasts of Scotland, across northern parts of Ireland. Again, you see there the colours are in the sort of yellow orangey sort of range, so we're 1,000 feet and above bases across western Scotland, northern and western Ireland. Probably some cloud around across parts of Wales, across central and eastern and southwestern parts of England. Bases there typically around about 2,000 feet plus. So gradually what we're going to be seeing there is conditions get better as we go through the morning and into the afternoon. So for many of us on Saturday, away from those western coasts, it looks like being a decent day. Much lighter winds as well for most of us, although across northern Scotland, still quite breezy southwesterlies at about 20 knots at the surface up there. And then for Sunday, a breezier day overall. You notice the isobars closer together across western parts of the country. Cold front coming into western parts of Ireland, bringing rain with it. That probably actually does bode well then for much of England and Wales and much of eastern Scotland, because the approach of that cold front will tend to mean that the cloud in other areas wants to kind of break up because of the increase in the wind. So I think for many of us, we're going to be seeing bases of probably 3,000 feet and above for England and for Wales, but across Ireland, across western parts of Scotland, you see here those bases much lower at about 1,000 to 2,000 feet. So for most of us, actually, the weekend is looking pretty good. It's just those western coasts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, possibly northwest England at times, that will see that low cloud. Then get ready next week. Looks like it's going to be a bit breezier and turning more unsettled as well. We've got the second session of Aviation Weather School Part 1 coming up on Saturday. All of my weather schools are full for the next month or so, but if you want to go onto the wait list to be notified when the new dates are announced, just go and have a look at the website, weatherschool.co.uk. Use the contact form there. Tell me you want to be added onto the wait list. I'll let you know of any cancellations or of any new course dates, or when new course dates are announced, I should say. There you go. I hope you have a great time flying this weekend. If you're planning on going flying and you have as much fun as I did today, I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
That was a great shirt, Simon.
Yeah, well, everyone's loving it.
There was a lot of viewer feedback on the shirt.
Yeah, particularly someone saying, if I'd have known it was fancy dress, I'd have made an effort.
Wow. Even Boris should have delivered his keynote climate conference speech in that shirt.
I absolutely agree. Yes.
Do you think that would have distracted from his mention of Kermit the Frog? Let's not go there.
No.
Yeah. In other viewer comments, Keir Williams asks, "Where is Ian being detained?"
So, I'm in France at the moment. So there you go. Yeah, I'm in France. And I'm in an attic that I've converted into a temporary studio. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you realise the pain I'm suffering from using this little mini laptop with loads and loads of screens, which is why I'm spending half my time looking down like that. Talking of which, it must be time for the news. And the news, I just need to scroll on a different window there. I'll try and do it looking at the corner of my eye. I can get there. News, that must be Dave who's opening up with the news, and I'll probably have a picture to put up as well. Over to you, Dave.
Right, well, this week has been a bit of confusion about the status of Llanbedra Airfield. Is it open, or is it, have I said it wrong again, haven't I? Anyway, Llanbedra Airfield. Is it open or is it not? Because there is this dirty, great big danger area, which has appeared in the last couple of weeks. And if you look on SkyDemon, this is a SkyDemon screenshot, it appears to be solid and there all the time. In fact, it's not. The truth is that this is all those little bits of the danger area are going to be activated by NOTAM individually, and there are limitations on how many of them can be activated at one time and for how long and how many days in a month. So SkyDemon, I spoke to SkyDemon earlier today, and they are working on a fix, because what they've basically done here is import the info from the last cycle of what's called AIRAC, AIRAC, which is sort of info, and they've imported it, and this is what it's given them, but they're working on a more detailed fix, so it shows that what is actually active on any particular day. Now, if you wanted to fly to Llanbedra Airfield, then you do have to PPR, and you go through the Snowdonia Flight School website, and you click on the bit that says PPR, and as you PPR, you will get an instant briefing. As soon as you put the day in that you want to go there, then you'll get a briefing as to which danger areas are active and which are not. Should be said, I talked to David Young, the airfield manager, today as well, and he said, yes, they're open. Come in, fly in. It's all active. It's all going. And they haven't actually activated any of those danger area bits at all so far. They're not expecting any of them to be activated until the second week of October. So this weekend's good weather. Go flying to Clambedra. Clambedra. All right. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of good news. It's a bit kind of bad news. There's this huge bloody lollipop of potentially activated danger areas, and if you got some great deal, say next spring rent a luxury cottage in Clambedra or however you say it. You kind of want it. I realise that people are having to work within the constraints of what we got, but it's still a bit of a pain in the backside, is what I say.
I guess for some people, they see danger areas on a map and they'll go, "Oh, I'll avoid that."
It's. I mean, the UK treats danger areas a little bit strangely and different compared to a lot of other places in the world. So, danger area or a military a MOA in the US is that, strictly speaking, you're not forbidden from flying through it, apart from the ones that have statutory instruments linked to them, like some of the ones on Salisbury Plain, for example. However, there is a CAA policy where they've decided that if you fly through a danger area, you can be guilty of infringing it, and you can see danger area infringements in the MOR stats, which is just a little bit bonkers, if you ask me. If you can't fly through it, then make it a bloody rat or something, or not even a rat, as it were, or in this case, it'd be a rat, wouldn't it? But it's just one of those examples where we have to do something differently to everywhere else in the rest of the world and make it a little bit more complicated. And I accept that David Young and the team at Snowdonia Airsports are trying to make this as easy as possible, but lumped in with everything else, it's still a bit of a pain.
It's where if there was to be some new thinking about doing stuff, it would be where that would probably help.
Yes. But we should say that at Clambedra, the reason why there are this danger area is because there are businesses operating all sorts of test aircraft, things, and they are the things that keep the airfield alive. It's the revenue that comes in with all those that keeps the airfield alive, because you have to say it's not the busiest GA airfield in the world. They're not going to survive on GA revenues, so therefore they do have to have this other business, and just have to make it work. That's all.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, good voice of reason there, Dave. Ed, you're up next.
Yes, so more airspace stuff related to unusual goings on. So this is being discussed in the forum at the moment. Morton in Marsh, which is an old airfield that's used for fire training technology and things like that. So a counter drone technology company called Nexus 9 has applied for an airspace chain proposal with a 3 nautical mile, 2,500 foot TDA lasting up to 90 days, centered on the disused airfield. Initial TDA activity is planned to commence 2nd of December this year. So anticipated TDA will only be utilised during weekday daylight hours in blocks of up to 3 days at a time for approximately 18 days of activity during the 90-day TDA validity, though the Nexus 9 say they reserve the right to amend that plan. Interestingly, the bigger issue that's lurking here, though, if you look through the documents that they filed for the ACP, you'll find a statement where it says this TDA is intended to inform a planned airspace trial application and subsequent application for permanent airspace change. As one user on the forum pointed out, the chart used to illustrate the application, can someone pop that back up? Isn't the current chart, and it doesn't show the new ATZ at Little Rissington, which is south of that. And so once you factor in the Little Rissington ATZ, it makes for a pinch point near Stow-on-the-Wold and forces east-west traffic between Morton and Wellesbourne. So, and obviously, if this is going to be a permanent thing, then that's going to need some discussion. We've got until the 10th of October to participate in the consultation. Once again, this is one of these quiet things where not everyone is probably truly aware of what's going on. A stakeholder engagement letter gives details of the contact at Nexus 9 for feedback comments, and we'll put the link to that particular ACP in the comments. I'll do that now, actually. So this is a good opportunity, especially, this is in the south. And at the moment, the CAA is running the consultation on the Cotswold airspace region. So this is another bit of airspace in a busy part of the world. And you go, really? Does this need to be 2,500 feet high and so big?
Well, At least they said they were only going to fly during the day and daylight hours, because I mean that's great because we all fly all night anyway, don't we?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the link, it's certainly worth taking a look and commenting. The link to the airspace change proposal and the flyer forum thread to see some of the discussion that's going on with that are both in the comments.
Yeah, and here's a gratuitous picture of a drone, just in case you didn't know what one looked like. And this is the kind they're going to be flying, presumably at Morton in Marsh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, and the company also specialise in anti-drone or counter drone.
They do counter drone technology. So there's talk of jamming technologies and things like that. And it's discussed in the forum. But this kind of activity, is it wise to be doing that kind of stuff? In Class G, in what would be Class G airspace, lots of GA stuff and other things going on. Can that not be done somewhere else, like Lambeda?
I mean, what you're not. I mean, that's that little dotted line there. I think is the Oxford area of intense aerial activity, isn't it?
It is.
I think you're right, and it's even more intense because Little Rissington's got its ATZ now as well. So
absolutely, yeah. So.
And Enstone is just up to the east as well.
That's it. Yeah.
Hey, that's it. That's. Do you know who's the MP for that area?
Who is the MP?
David Cameron, is it?
David Cameron's not an MP anymore, is he?
Oh, yeah. Who replaced him? I know the answer.
It's Robert Courts, MP, the Aviation Minister. Yeah. I think David Cameron's gone into farming, but I'm going to stop that joke there. Right.
Robert Courts, it's your opportunity.
Yeah, it's your chance to show your mettle.
Yeah.
Let's have a story about aviation, shall we? Not about non-aviation. How about Johnny? Tell us about the Red Beaver.
Yeah. So if you remember the Yak 18 that was fitted with the V12 Red engine, they've come out with a new, slightly modified version to fit a de Havilland Beaver. So this is for Sealand Aviation, who are a float plane operator in Canada, and they're going to be sticking this Red 03, which is the third proper production engine, into the aeroplane with full FADEC and all of that kind of thing. But they're seeing it as a kind of intermediate step between the old radial and a zero emission power plant for the aeroplane, and they reckon it's actually going to be about half as fuel hungry as a PT6 in a Beaver. So it's a good. It looks interesting. Looks like a good aeroplane. Must be a smooth running. V12s are nice smooth running machines.
Yeah.
Has anyone heard of V12 Beaver?
About 560 horsepower, something like that.
550 on takeoff, and then 500 normally after that.
But if you can't be smooth with a V12, when can you be? That's
yeah. I bet that makes a great noise as well.
Yeah. Full chat. Yes, I can hear it now. Wide open. Sorry.
For next week, someone should try and get an audio file of the red zero, whatever it is, at full chat. See what it actually sounds like.
Okay.
Maybe not that one. Maybe the one on the Yak 18.
Yeah, it won't be as good as a Pratt & Whitney 985.
No,
that's
what I was thinking, but I couldn't remember the exact designation of the engine. But there you go. Right, just moving on to something else. This is an announcement we spoke about last week. On the 6th of November, we have Pilot Grizz Live coming back, Sofitel Hotel London T5. Clearly, for many, thinking it's probably not the obvious time to embark on a career as a professional pilot. However, as we pointed out, it's going to take you something like 2 to 3 years to train at minimum. So you're trying to predict what the market's like in 2 to 3 years. And this is just a fantastic opportunity to come along and get as much information as you possibly can so that you can make a decision that's right for you. So if you know anybody who's interested in a career in aviation on the flight deck, or you are, then come along and have a look. And but it's tickets in advance only, no tickets on the door because of all the COVID measures we're putting in place. So that's that quick story there. And I think it's now time for Dave to tell us about some awards. Dave.
Yes. At the recent private flyer event, a bunch of awards were made to by Poolies and AOPA UK. So the first one, I'm not seeing the picture yet, so I'm not quite sure which one's going to be the first one yet. But, so anyway, one of the recipients was Travis Ludlow. The guy has just flown around the world. Here he is. Travis is on the right. That's Pauline Vahe of AOPA on the left. And that's Martin Robinson of AOPA in the centre. We didn't quite recognise at first because he looked so different from what we last time we saw him. Anyway, but Travis got the award for Outstanding Achievement in Aviation. So that was the first award. The second award was won for AOPA's Best Aerodrome, and Dan Subani from Sandown, he won a Pooley's sword. There's a big thing about these swords, isn't there? So they're
a popular award item.
Yes.
I think there's only one Pooley's sword. I don't think there's lots of them in circulation.
No, but the Honourable Company of Air Pilots also have a bunch of swords as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so those of you who've been around in aviation for a while will remember the Venerable Bob Pooley, who used to spend his time driving up and down the country, putting his flight guide together, selling charts and rulers or scales or whatever they're called. Clearly Bob Pooley, who started the company when he was at de Havilland, is a bit of a legend. So Bob, when he kind of retired and handed the reins over to Sebastian, Bob's business became the ceremonial sword business. So Bob now runs the UK's only ceremonial sword business and gets special swords made and sells, which is why you get the Pooley sword thing. So that old Bob Pooley is a bit of a swordsman, as it were.
Right. Given that Pooley's make flight calculators and things as well, how come the two have never? How come we don't have a flight calculator with a built-in sword and stuff like that?
That's a very good question. And I don't know the answer. What you really mean is how comes they don't do a sword where you can work out the wind drift?
Yeah.
I'd like the what's it called? CRP, the CRP sword, please.
Yeah.
Very good.
Somebody's already mentioned that Nick Orchard also has won a sword. And if you get the pair of them together, Nick and Dan at Sandown, I'm not sure about a joust. You don't do that with a sword. You have a sword fight, a bit like Gladiator.
It's dangerous to joust with a sword.
Isn't there kind of like Morris dancing that takes place with swords as well?
Sticks.
Yes, there must be swords. I'm sure there's swords as well.
No, they are fake swords.
Fake sword.
We probably, or Dave, correction, Dave has probably offended the Morris dancing community somewhere in there.
I can tell you, it's definitely.
I think both Dan and Nick are top people in aviation, so we definitely don't want them jousting at all.
No.
So there you go.
Excellent stuff.
We should move on.
We should. Let's move on then.
Virtual Voyage reminder. Obviously, the CAA's Virtual Voyage, there's 3 of those coming up on the 6th, 7th and 11th of October. You've got to register online to go and view those. The very first one taking place on the 6th has got a Q&A section hosted by our very own Ian Seeger. If you've got questions for that, for Ian to ask, please send them to caaquestions@seeger.aero or check out our forum thread where you can post your questions there. We'll pick the best ones, and in the time available, which is somewhere between 10 and maybe a little more minutes, they'll be asked. And
I think we got 20 minutes.
So Stephen Hillier will be joining that Q&A session.
That's right. Probably with his sword.
Well, he'll need it.
He'll
I think.
definitely have a ceremonial sword.
And a shield.
Do you think he can only access the sword with the through Selma, to which end he may go along one day to pick it up and it'll be like, sorry, you can't have your sword.
I predict that Selma will go, who are you? What do you want?
Send me your documents. No,
can we see certified copies of your documents?
Well, I predict that Sir Stephen, who used to be like boss of the RAF, wasn't he? Like chief of RAF or something. I don't know when he left the RAF whether they said, right, we need your watch back, we need your dress uniform back, we need your ceremonial sword back, and stuff like that, or not, or whether he got to keep it.
So keeps it.
Do you think?
I mean, they interesting fact, they stay on 50% pay after they've left for the rest of their life.
Who?
Chiefs of the air staff.
Wow.
Do they?
Yep.
Yeah.
So he may well still have his sword.
Blimey.
So, how do I apply to be chief of the air staff?
and head of the chairman of the CAA.
Well, no, I don't need to do that, because if I become chief of the air staff, I only need to do it for like a day, and then 50% pay for the rest of my. That would work, wouldn't it?
That would definitely work. Yeah.
Wow. Every day's a school day. I didn't know that. That's yeah, and bloody hell! Wow, God, I'm flabbergasted. I'm so flabbergasted. I'm gonna. Yeah. So anyway, please don't put your questions in. Thank you very much.
Alan, I shall says that Ian's job application for head of CAA approved.
If you could write a reference for me, that would be great. not head of CAA, head of the Air Force. I want the 50%.
Oh.
But I'm probably a bit longer than a day, because I want to have a go a few of their aircraft while I was there.
Yes.
What have we got next in the news? Let me have a look. Yeah, so just before we move on, the virtual voyage questions, please send your questions to caquestions@sega.aero. Please don't put them in the text here or the comments here. And if you've also, or you can put them in the forum thread on the Flyer forum, and I'll go through them, group them. I've already got them into different categories, starting to work them out and try and get as many of them in there, and as many answers, more importantly than questions really, as I possibly can from the CAA when the time comes on the 6th of October. Right, so what have we got next? We have got, where's Lara?
Yeah, so Zara is now in Ketchikan in Alaska.
Oh.
She couldn't quite make it to, I think, what's it called? Juneau. Due to weather, she had to divert. Her next stop is going to be Anchorage, and then the Bering Strait, cross over to Russia. And then, if that all goes well, she's actually got a change of route now. She's going to skip Mongolia and China and go straight down to Japan, because of, apparently they were quoting, just reading it, there's a better chance to avoid COVID restrictions that haven't relaxed yet, and also to avoid snow showers, apparently. So she'll be heading to Japan.
Nothing to do with Australian submarines and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when I took that screenshot earlier today, she hadn't made it to Alaska at that point. She was still in Canada, so I'm guessing that there's been some progress since then, if she's in wherever it is.
Yeah, the last update, which was about 3 hours ago on her Facebook, was that she'd landed in Ketchikan.
Wow.
Right.
I know Hong Kong's got some really fearsomely tough quarantine stuff, so maybe China has as well, and she didn't fancy 2 weeks or whatever it was in a quarantine hotel at a cost of however much they're charging for them out there. So.
Yeah.
Right, Dave.
Yes, I've got the sad news, which is that Sasha Dench, the climate change campaigner who was flying an electric paramotor around the UK, leading up to the COP conference in Glasgow in October, she was seriously injured in an accident last Saturday. She was flying with another paramotor pilot called Dan Burton, a member of her team. And unfortunately, he was killed in the accident. Now, we don't know any details of how it happened. We do know that the pair of them are both very experienced paramotor pilots, and they've done lots of trips. And of course, they've flown around most of the UK by the time they got to the accident. It's all very sad. We hope that obviously that Sasha recovers from her injuries. We don't know how serious they are. They're just described as serious. And our thoughts go out to the family and friends of Dan Burton. I did see a tweet from his family and who said that Dan was a guy full of life, and his motto was, "You only have one life, use it." And so, anyway, that's very as much as we can say that at the moment.
Yeah. Very sad news indeed. Yeah. Which leads me just to round up the news myself. I've just got a few bits and pieces I want to kind of roll into one ball of a story, as it were. So last week I mentioned to you that I would be that the invitation that Grant Shapps had issued during the LAA rally to go into the DFT and have a chat about how things could be deregulated. That was due to take place last week. I couldn't make it because I was in France, which I still am, and it was then going to take place virtually, but it was decided that actually the whole thing's going to be rearranged and it'll be rearranged for some time in the future, and it'll be rearranged in person. So that's still going on, and I have to say, I'm not at all taking a pop at the DFT for that. They're trying very hard to make sure that everyone who needs to be there can be there. So that's a very good thing. Just a quick reminder, we got the interview with Robert Courts, Aviation Minister, coming up, and a part of that interview, that was pre-recorded interview, he's not here live, and part of that interview we touched on IGNOS. So if you're interested in that, see what happens about that. And last but not least, I need your help if you can. You probably noticed on social media and a few other places that there have been some people grumbling about their license applications to the CAA taking a while. So I have been asking the CAA to see how they were doing, and they gave me some stats which are interesting. On average at the moment, apparently the applications are taking 11 days, and over the last year, their average has been steady at around 7 days. These are working days, but nonetheless, quite short numbers. Now that seems a little bit at odds to what's going on there. So I did a little bit more thinking and got some advice from a few other people, and I asked another question, which was, so how do they measure it? And actually, funnily enough, if you put in an application and there's something that's wrong with it, they haven't got the information you want, or the form's filled in wrongly, or they haven't understood that you filled the form incorrectly, or something like that, then they do something. The verb they use is, we've pended the application. Penned, as Dave points out earlier, comes from the French verb pendre, which means to hang or dangle. So we can only surmise that the CAA have decided on a few occasions to dangle a license or type rating application, or class rating application even, which is interesting. But the other thing that happens is, once your application is pended and you are advised by email that you need to send in something else, when you send in something else, that goes to the back of the queue, and the 11 days get started counting again. So it doesn't add on to the amount of days that were there in the first part, which kind of explains a little bit. But then the other question, how many applications do you think are pended in terms of, on what percentage of applications, I should say, do you think are pended? Well, I asked that question and I found out the answer today. And I think I was flabbergasted, frankly. 50%. 50%. 1 in every 2 applications is pended for some reason or another, and there's a whole list of the main reasons. So this is in my, I wrote about this in my column. So if you want to read more about it, read about it next week when the issue comes out. So my column's all about license applications and what's going on. And frankly, if you've got a system that's generating 50% rejection pending, if you like, on first application, then that system is screwed up, catastrophically screwed up, and needs fixing, because it's going to be taking, I mean, apart from using huge amounts of their resource, wasting everyone's time, and just absolutely, that needs to change, and that needs to change quickly. And it probably needs to be brought into the 21st century, but certainly not by the team behind Selma, because we all know that's a pile of poo, steaming poo. But anyway, so where I need your help is if you've had experience with the CAA licensing transaction, as it were, over the last year, whether it be a good, bad, or indifferent one, please let me know. I'm happy to do that anonymously if you like, or in confidence. So just drop me an email if you would with the details. ICS, that's India Charlie Sierra, @sega.aero. Thank you very much.
It's in the comments.
It's almost by magic. I couldn't do it because I've got such a small screen. But anyway, so right.
Johnny has some experience of license paperwork chasing. How long did it take for you to get your LAPL to PPL paperwork?
Yeah, I was literally going to say that. I think all in all, it was about 2.5 months with 2 pens where I sent in. Can't remember the exact details, but I had to send something else in countersigned by the head of the ATO, and then obviously that gets reset to 0 days. Wait another 11, and then there was something else that was wrong, so I had to send something else in. But I'm sure the time between the second issue being resolved and actually receiving my license was at least a month. I think I'll double check and I'll email you, Ian.
So, thank you, Johnny. Would you like my email address?
Yeah, 6 weeks now, waiting now for my IR to come back. Took the money the next day. Now got an FIC application in, no word in the last 10 days.
Ian, would you mind emailing that to me, if at all possible, ics@sega.aero? And the reason I say, would you mind emailing it to me, is because I also had one of the other statements that I had. These are official statements from the CAA, by the way, not just stuff I've heard. The CAA said that the oldest application they are working on currently is only 14 working days. No. So if you have an application that you think's been in with them for longer than 14 working days, I'd really like to know about it. And I'm sure they would as well, because it would appear that they don't know about it. So yeah, it took 4 months to issue my CRI. Hey, Bob, that's interesting. I haven't got my CRI back yet, and I've been pended once so far. I guess the interesting thing is you could pen someone 4 times, deal with the pen thing in less than 7 days, and still have an average and go, we're dealing with stuff in 7 days or less, and that would be. We've had many students have delays, some delay. Please email me. That would be fantastic. I'd be deeply interested in taking this up. Clearly, this is something that is broken, completely bloody broken. It's to everyone's advantage, our advantage, CA's advantage, the industry's advantage, schools' advantage to get it fixed once and for all and get it sorted. Because clearly, these examples and the statement of our oldest application in is 14 working days are not quite matching somehow along the line. So we need to get that sorted. I think we'll find out.
Thank you for your inquiry. We aim to respond as soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
Your call is important to us, just not that important.
Your call is important to us. We've pended it. Press 1 for pending. And that's the other thing that happened is when I got pended, with a very polite, nice email that said I need to do this, this, and this. And it was only just this. And one of the this, I wasn't entirely clear. So I was pointing out, when you said this, what do you actually mean by this? And since then, there's been silence. So that's kind of interesting as well. So there's probably a whole bunch of, you can see how easy it is to eat up 2-3 months of time when the system, the metrics measured by the system are showing that it's actually, we're doing this in 7 days or 10 days or 11 days or whatever. Their target is actually to deliver, did I say this at the beginning? But if not, I'll repeat myself. Their target is actually to deliver licenses. 90% of license transactions should be completed within 10 working days. So there you go. I think if they did that, we'd all be deliriously happy, as long as it didn't include the pending and going back. And
imagine if that was going on for car driving licenses. There'd be an absolute outcry, wouldn't there?
It would be driving licenses, passports. It would just be a complete. Yeah, I mean, there would be. Could you imagine the Daily Mail?
Yeah.
No, let's not pass the mind bleach around, people.
Right.
Okay. What have we got? It's Rat Watch time, isn't it? So that's got to mean a video. Let me go and dig out the video from down here. Are you ready for this? There you go.
Nice. Yes.
Rat Watch.
Yes. So, bit of discrimination going on here, because there is a rat over the Conservative Party annual conference, which is being held from the 2nd to the 6th of October in Manchester, but not the Labour Party conference, which is being held in Brighton this weekend until next Wednesday. Not quite sure, unless there's more important people, of course, going to the Conservative Party conference.
I think that's the wrong way round, Dave, because there is absolutely no danger whatsoever of anyone getting a transit of that bit of Manchester airspace anyway, is there?
No, you're absolutely right there.
and those people wishing to do naughty things are probably not going to hang around outside Manchester trying to negotiate a clearance anyway, are they?
Yeah. No. Anyway, there is a rat over Manchester, 2nd to the 6th of October.
Just over it.
To labour it, right? Anyway, the next one is over Old Warden on October the 2nd. This is because of the Shuttleworth event, their Shuttleworth race day. Always a great event. So you just need to avoid Shuttleworth on the 2nd of October. There are still some continuing TDAs, temporary danger areas. We've mentioned before, but we'll mention them quickly again, just in case you weren't here last week. Till the 15th of October, the Sky Guardian is being operated by the RAF from Lossiemouth and Waddington. Until the 23rd of November, there is this strange one going on from Portsmouth to the Isle of Wight, the sort of weird dogleg thing. And then until the 24th of November, There is a slightly more straightforward one going from around Cranfield.
Relatively low level, though, both of those, aren't they?
Relatively low level, yeah. Nothing like the one that's proposed for Morton. But no,
absolutely not. Well, thank you for those, Dave.
Okay.
Which means it must be time for the Robert Courts interview. So here we go. Let's see if we can get this bit of technology to work. Enjoy this and listen to the bit about EGNOS, if that's what you're interested in. Hello, thank you very much. I'm here talking to Robert Courts MP, the Aviation Minister. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. Good to see you. Glad to be here.
I know time's slightly limited. Everyone's got a lot on their plate, understandably, at the moment. So I'll get straight into the questions. You've said before, as has Grant Shapps, that there's an ambition to make the UK the best place in the world for aviation and general aviation. I wonder if you could tell us what practical steps are being taken to sort of turn that vision into a reality.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely right. I mean, this is a sector that contributes, about £4 billion to the UK's economy, and it supports 40,000 jobs. Those, of course, just the raw statistics, critical though they are. But what, of course, GA also brings us is the grassroots. It's the underpinning of the entire aviation industry, everything that, the pilots, commercial, military, and everything else besides, and recreation as well. Everything, that's where you all start. So it's absolutely critical that we do this. And the thing that we've done is to produce what's called the General Aviation Roadmap, which essentially is, having decided, the strategy, we want the UK to be the best place in the world for general aviation. How do we do that? So we've published that roadmap. And we consult widely with the sector to make sure that everyone's priorities are ones that we reflect. And so we have a number of things that are contained within the roadmap. That is, for example, airfield protection, airspace reform, skills, regulation and safety, governance, for example, as well. And there's also a section in there about historic aviation, which is particularly close to my heart.
I also noticed last week you published something with an intention to simplify licensing in medicals for general aviation. I wonder, could you give us any idea what the timescale might be on that?
Yeah, that's right. And that's part of the wider, that was announced by Lord Frost. That's part of a wider cross-government programme to really identify the regulatory improvements that we can make now that we have full regulatory freedom, now that we've left the European Union. So that's an ongoing process now. And you're absolutely right. We're going to be looking at those licensing and medical requirements and see what we can do to make sure that the rules that apply in this country are the ones that best fit our environment. I can't give you a precise timescale at the moment, but it's something we're keen to work on and work through as quickly as possible.
I certainly know there's a large amount of frustration in the aviation community at the moment, both with the performance of something called SELMA, which is the CAA's portal for running medicals, and the licensing process, which complexity aside, the licensing delays at the moment are really quite exceptional. So it'd be good to get them simplified and certainly speeded up if we can.
Yeah, so I'm very keen to do that, and that may be something that's a part of this regulatory aspect. But I work very closely with the CAA. I meet them regularly, but it's also I'm really keen, and it's very key that I emphasise that I really want to know what everybody thinks. If there are any issues that you think either yourself or anyone else within the community that wants me to look at, please let me know, and I'm very happy to do it. I'm very keen to be accessible, hands-on, and to really make a difference to the things that matter.
I have your email address. I'll share a few brief notes, just so it doesn't take up too much of your time to read them, with just a few headlines for you to look at. Moving on to the next question. This year, we lost in the UK access to the EGNOS signal, which provided a kind of three-dimensional approach down to LPV, so precision approaches. Do you know, is there any negotiation going on to get that back, or to replace it somehow?
Yeah, so look, I know that this is something that is a challenge for airfields, and I know that there is an impact that having ended and ongoing. Fundamentally, it was incompatible with the negotiating position. We weren't able to get to an agreement when we left and signed that free trade agreement on that. And there isn't any plan to reopen that question. But what we will be doing is working with the entire GA community to make sure that we can explore and use other approach techniques as much as we can. And we will be looking in the longer term to see what other alternatives we may be able to procure that may assist.
We've now have a situation in the UK where approaches can be approved, GPS, effectively RMP/GPS approaches approved to airfields without full air traffic control. And it just takes an awful long time to get that done. And then when they are done, the restrictions put on their operation by Civil Aviation Authority and others means that they're not actually available to general aviation pilots. I think that would be a good area for you to look at in future.
Yeah, I'm very happy to do that. It is a problem I'm familiar with, but under this overarching, this umbrella, as it were, of the roadmap, I'm very keen to really get into the detail on that. And we are absolutely keen, Secretary of State and I, to make this the best place in the world for GA. And whatever that aspect may be that needs our attention, we will be absolutely sure to focus on.
In all honesty, I think if we aim for that, it would be absolutely fantastic. And if we make some strides in that direction, that will be very welcome and very positive. Talking of which, one of the issues that we face in the UK is that many airfields are closing. Is there anything that we can do to protect the infrastructure of airfields?
Yeah, so this is key, and this is obviously something that is a major concern. And I from where I'm in my constituency, for example, I have Oxford Airport nearby, and I have Enston as well, which obviously is a thriving GA airfield, which I've visited on a number of occasions. So I really see the critical nature of this, and what fundamentally is so important. You've just got to have people have access to a GA airfield nearby. So we are, as I outlined as part of the roadmap, that protection of airfields aspect of it is a key part of it, and we are looking to see what we can do on that. We're keen to make sure that we work with our colleagues over in the Department for Communities, Local Government to make sure there's good guidance given, to make sure everyone realises the huge value that GA brings in economic terms. As I outlined at the beginning, it's that £4 billion of contribution to the economy for the 40,000 jobs, but also the cultural aspect of it, that if you want to be a leader in aviation, you have to have a thriving GA movement as well, and that requires airfields. So we're very keen to make sure that real strategic understanding of the vital nature of having airfields and a network of them is understood. One of the key
one of the bright lights of UK general aviation has been our professional flight training industry. We've been running events in that arena for probably over 20 years now, and the UK certainly does have one of the very highly respected infrastructures for professional flight training. Obviously, with the end of the transition period and our leaving EASA, the licenses became incompatible. And certainly from the general aviation point of view, people with a LAPL can no longer fly in Europe, whereas they could once upon a time. And UK airline pilots need to choose between CAA or EASA licenses. I realise there's a political element to this, which is probably best not to go into right now. But now the politics is effectively done. Is there a move underway, or will there be a move underway to see if there's kind of any way of getting mutual recognition of licenses back on the plate?
Yeah, again, so I am completely aware of this issue, and you're absolutely right to put your finger on the fact that the UK is really seen as a gold standard, as a quality mark for training across the whole of the world. We're renowned for our aviation industry and the quality of the instruction that takes place here. So, we at the moment, it is possible to add chapters to the agreement. We're very keen to explore that, and it'll be something, of course, that require agreement on both sides. So it's something we'll continue to look at. What at the moment we're doing is listening to the sector and understanding how best we may be able to support them. It's important that we have a period there of understanding where the real, the challenges are, and where we can most effectively deploy our assistance.
So there are certainly currently many people who are in full-time and modular training for professional licenses who are effectively training for both licenses, so they end up with both the CA and the EASA license, which adds both time, complexity and money for effectively what was not that long ago the same license. So while we do have an absolutely fantastic and top-class flight training industry, we do need to consider the wider aspect of that people are training professionally in order to work, and in order to work they quite often need a different license to just the CAA one, certainly if they want to work outside of the UK. And aviation, as you know, is an international thing, so it's an important area.
Fully understood, and we're keen to support in whatever way we can.
You mentioned earlier your interest in historic aviation. Perhaps we can move off of the slightly heavy, serious stuff and get back onto some kind of fun stuff, which for most of us in general aviation, or most of us in aviation, and certainly general aviation, it really is all about the fun and enjoyment. So So what's your interest in historic aviation?
So I a lifelong interest in historic aviation. My grandfather and my great uncle both served in the Air Force during the war. So, I've grown up, with that aviation influence, and they lived only a couple of miles away from Duxford. Ever since I was old enough to be able to focus on something in the sky, I've had historic aircraft over the top, and that's a lifelong love that I still have. I was at Duxford on Sunday, for example, with my 2-year-old and my 5-year-old, so introducing the next generation already. So I've always had a lifelong love of aviation in general, and particularly historic aviation.
It took us a while to get this interview sorted out. I wonder if we could kind of perhaps put you on the spot a little bit here and say, yeah, maybe we can come back to this in 3 or 6 months' time and just get an update and see how things are going.
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to do that. Yeah, no problem at all with that. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, we obviously have the pandemic that is a major focus. I have been in post now for just over a year, coming in the middle of the pandemic, and obviously the COVID preparation is absolutely a focus for any minister, and particularly when you're a relatively new one coming in. But yeah, of course.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I don't know why it didn't remove itself automatically. It should have done.
So to basically sum up a lot of the comments, Stuart Rue says, and I've lost him. There we go. I've never heard someone say so much, but commit to so little. His interview is very eye-opening.
I have to say, I've interviewed a few politicians and senior people now, not as many as some, but a few, and an awful lot of them say an awful lot of things without committing to or saying very much of anything solid. And certainly when it comes to the virtual voyage at the Civil Aviation Authority, I'm going to be trying my very hardest to get things done. I mean, it's interesting, the whole process of interviewing a minister, you kind of get, there's certainly a thing that says, would you mind telling us what you're going to ask? Or he's going, well, no, maybe we'll just give you an idea of some of the areas. But then it's all very time limited, so you've got to have to squash it all in. It's quite a. But anyway, there wasn't a huge amount said there. I think one of the things that was said that was really disappointing for me personally was the fact that there's no plan to reopen the EGNOS negotiations, and that to me is just political dogma getting in the way of practicalities. And to talk about making the UK the best country in the world for any kind of aviation, general aviation. But to have let EGNOS go and to not re-engage to get that back is just mad. And equally, the amount of people, I feel so much for the students going through professional training at the moment. They're in a time of change and a time of turmoil, and it's a really difficult time. But they're clearly, if the politicians were to DFT were to say, you know what, we need to fix this. Let's talk to EASA about having mutual recognition of licenses. Then there's a political cost to that, and that's not an acceptable thing at the moment. And so once again, people at the I was going to say at the coalface, but not really at the coalface. People in the cockpit are suffering because of costs which have nothing really to do with the practicality of flying.
Well, like you say, hopefully we can get it back in 3 to 6 months' time and try again.
Yeah, let's hope so. Should we move on to something a little bit lighter? That video, if you want to see it again, will be released separately tomorrow, I believe. Or you could always watch the whole live stream again, clearly.
Anyway, it must be time for.
Yes, reminded me. Let me just scroll down to my video. Oh, I'm sorry, where's it gone? There you go. No, there you go.
So as we've had fun the last couple of weeks delving into the classifieds, we thought we'd do it again this week, and we set ourselves a bit of a maths challenge, and this was to get the lowest score possible when looking at aircraft you can fly on a Group A license. The score is worked out by dividing the purchase cost by the number of seats, then dividing that result by the max cruise speed. So it's a bit like a bit of an efficiency cost challenge. As an example of this, I know Ian ran the numbers on a new Cirrus, and what did you get for that?
if you took a if you took a top of the range Cirrus, and a piston Cirrus, not the jet Cirrus, top of the range piston Cirrus, and you imported it into the UK, thereby paying VAT on it. You weren't going through a business where you had to claim back the VAT, so you paid the tax on it. You decided you were going to fill all 5 seats, and you decided you were going to cruise at 185 knots. Then a brand new Cirrus works out at something like 1,290, I think the number was, something like that. Anyway,
so we're looking for a much lower score. So ultimately, this is about fast aeroplanes that you can get for not much money and have got lots of seats.
Absolutely,
that's it. Yeah,
Dave's up first, I think, isn't he?
Yes.
Hayden Thompson has anticipated. Dave, how do you get
Well, actually, no, I've gone for something very different, and it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's a Ted Smith Aerostar. And amazingly, this model you could pick it up for $119,000, which equals £87,000 plus 20% VAT, as I was told to add, which brings it up to 104,000. You divide that by 6, the number of seats, by the maximum cruise speed of 234 knots. 75% power, 234 knots. It gives me a score of 74.
That's a good score.
That's a good score, yes.
Yeah, and an awesome aeroplane.
An awesome aeroplane, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never flown a Ted Smith Aerostar, and it started life as Ted Smith Aerostar and then became a Piper Aerostar, didn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
At one point, it was owned by American Cement Company. Not quite sure how that worked out. But...
Blue Circle Aerostar.
I still think one of the best things I've seen done with an Aerostar. There was a company that took them and put little tiny jets on them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, underslung jet.
Wow. Looks like a little tiny 737.
Well, you did remind me right at the beginning that we have to have something that we could fly on a PPL without needing an additional type rating. Class rating.
Someone was going to go for the very cheap 727 that you can do one ferry flight in.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. One of the nice things about that Aerostar is the cockpit. It's
you liked a sheepskin seat, didn't you?
Sheepskin seat. Yes.
Wow.
And I think I'm right in saying that the Aerostar on ground has kind of like a little almost like a tiller steering thing rather than steering on the pedals.
I think you might be right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're not to be taken lightly in and out of short strips, because they've got a fairly critical wing, as you could imagine.
That's it. Yeah. But a lot of aeroplane for not much money and a lot of speed.
Huge amount of aeroplane, and on my list of airplanes that I would really love to fly at least once. So well done, Dave. I'm jealous.
Okay. Who's next?
You're sure? I think it's me that was next. I actually went quite middle of the road here, and I thought I had a winner, but actually I'm not sure I did. I went Balanka Super Viking, the 300 horsepower 4-seat wooden aeroplane. Paul, how did you know?
I know.
There you go. And I ended that one's up for offers at something like 49,500. So basically, I added the VAT, imported it to the UK, which I didn't factor in the cost, filled all 4 seats, and took a kind of what I think is a slightly conservative speed, 163 knots. So the turbocharged version goes faster, but I couldn't find any of those in the classified. So I ended up with a number of 68. So I have a more efficient number than you, Dave. But I have to say, if a Balanka Super Viking was parked next to a Ted Smith Aerostar, I'd be heading for the Ted Smith Aerostar every time.
Yeah, yours is probably a bit cheaper to run, though.
Mine was a lot cheaper to run. I mean, big twins and even small twins tend to be as cheap as chips to buy, in theory, at least. But they're certainly not as cheap as chips to run. And the engines are, I mean, the value's in the engines, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. Good one. Okay,
anyway, Johnny.
That's me. I've kind of cheated a bit, and I've gone for an Antonov, an AN2. My theory was it's obviously not quick. It's pretty cheap, and you can fit loads of people inside it.
Give us some numbers, Johnny.
I'm trying to fudge the numbers, basically. So this is on for 36,000, VAT paid. You can apparently fit 12 people. This exact model that's for sale has no seats in it because it's basically an ag spraying aeroplane. But if you nip down to IKEA, you can bolt a few cheap seats into it. And then cruise, I'll be conservative and say 100 knots.
No way! Not in a million gazillion years are you going to get 100 knots unless it's pointing vertically downhill. It ain't going to happen.
Well, that's what Wikipedia says, anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to go and change that page now.
So if you had all those numbers, Johnny, what number would it give you?
It gave me a score of about 30.
Well, that's quite good. Well, that's pretty good.
So if you're taking a big group of people, where you guys would have to go back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
I'd just be trundling along.
You could be party bus.
Yeah.
You can feel the definition just about to snap, can't you?
That's it. Yeah. And technically, yours, your agriculture version only has 2 seats. So I'm not sure the number. There was another one in the ads which had 8 seats, wasn't it? But there was a note in the advert saying that it was it had unairworthy wing fabric.
Yeah.
Speed. Yeah. It's a good choice. So that just leaves me. So I went looking on PlaneCheck and found this Italian beauty. How about this? This is the Stelvio Frati designed twin, the F20 Pegaso. And I know you're all going, oh my God, this must be so expensive. Actually, it's not. It's relatively cheap. There's not many of them around. And I'm guessing, as you read more into the advert, you might think this might be a bit difficult to maintain. But anyway, it's complete. It just needs an annual. It hasn't flown for a few years. The 2 Continental engines are high time, but they are 300 horsepower aside. Ian very meanly described this as owning a twin com with a loft conversion because it's got quite a big top. Amazingly, it's got 6 seats. So the cruise speed is 170 knots. The price, a bargain, 39,500 euros, which even if I didn't haggle, once I'd converted that to pounds and paid the VAT, would be 40k. So putting all those numbers together, I get a score of 39. So I think, given that mine has actual seats, not Johnny's IKEA chairs.
I think that's an inspired choice, and I think it's one of those aeroplanes that you could, it's got no annual, hasn't flown for ages, it's got some high time engines, so you're going to probably be into. And actually, I looked at that the avionics stack in that, and it's basically just a whole empty stack. There are no avionics.
I completely missed that. It looks like a stack, but it's just actually all the holes in the panel.
It's just all the holes, yeah, exactly. So I reckon by the time you got a couple of 300 horsepower engines, a few other bits and pieces changed, some avionics in there, that's probably flying for not much over 300 grand.
I know, yeah.
On that. It would then probably be worth about 55 grand.
It's one of those airplanes where I think you could totally fall in love with it and lavish it with so much money that you might as well have set fire to it. So,
yeah, this is the airplane that could cost you your house and your wife and your marriage, I should say.
If you're feeling super flush, there's a turboprop version of this that's also on the same website for sale for something like 850,000 euros, and it's got 2 Allison turbines, but probably the same fuel capacity. So as you pointed out, Ian, you can probably cruise for a very high speed for not very long. But so looking in the comments, Nick Allen says Dave wins. Oh, Julian Treadwell says Aerostar is best for looks. What else? John Milner says, I like all of them. Stuart Brew, obviously Ed wins with the Frati. Chris Holiday says,
no way.
Yeah, Chris Holiday, Streak Shadow, 7.5 grand, an expensive one, 2 seats, 75 knots, score 50.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Dave White says, that looks like a sexy Bassett. AN2 nails the brief. Yeah, but you're forgetting, Mark, that it didn't have any seats in it.
Yeah.
Adrian Norris says, you have to multiply the number of years it's been for sale. I did notice that there has been no takers for a while.
Adrian, that is a very good idea. We might blend that into a future complex algorithm. that nobody will understand.
Adrian Norris said, also, are we getting a quantifiable, unfixable contest tonight? I think we are. So
yeah. Well, even though I'm an entrant in this contest, I'm going to vote for Dave's because I
William says Dave wins. I think Ed would be better off sending his money to a Nigerian prince. I would think so. Robert Wilt says Dave wins for me. Dave wins. Dave, this is an unusual win situation for you. What are you going to do about that?
I'm unused to this position. Normally, by miles.
Normal service will undoubtedly be resumed next week when Mr. Luscombe, Captain Luscombe, pitches up.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. Adrian Norris cruelly says, by the time you fix the woodworm in the Belanca. That's Adrian. That's just mean. Don't be mean to Ian.
Yeah. It's 40 grand. What do you expect? 49.
Amanda Stubbs sealed it. She said, give Dave a sword.
Oh, well done, Amanda. Yes. Well done, Amanda. Right, we're running over time. Not quite sure how we did that.
If you win, you have to buy it. There we go.
That's a good one. I think that's Chris saying that.
That's it. Anyway, I think it's going to have to be a quick skip through club stuff, isn't it? And QSY.
We've got some events
for next week.
Quick events.
Quick events. Yep. So this weekend there's the autumn flying at Easter Airfield on Saturday. Weather looks good for that. There's an aerobatics competition at Brayton over Saturday and Sunday, and there's an open hangar with metal seagulls at Haverfordwest. Starts on Saturday but runs all next week. The cancelled event. It was literally cancelled. Well, I heard about it being cancelled this afternoon. The air racing event at Leicester. Just want to also say, coming up, Pooley's Air Day at Compton Abbas on the 2nd and 3rd of October. I mention this because it was originally listed as being this weekend, but has been put back. So 2nd and 3rd of October now.
Next weekend then. Good. Johnny, tell everyone about the club. £7.50 a day. Buy it now.
Yeah, buy now. So we're working on the next webinar, which might well have a safety flavour to it. And also events for the winter. We're looking at one. I'm just waiting to hear about dates. But if you want to practice escaping from an airplane in the water, then that might be the kind of thing that you want to come and join and have a go at. And if you do want to do that kind of thing, but you're not a club member, join. £7.50 per quarter for now.
I think I prefer the idea of a pool party with cocktails.
Yes.
You got to earn it.
Okay. Right. In that case, QSY. Let's have a quick QSY.
Oh, crikey.
What bloody hell's that?
But this is the RAF's latest rapid response vehicle. No, I'm joking. This is their new autonomous vehicle, electric, which is going to be zipping around the airfield, delivering tools, equipment, and supplies. And
really,
well, apparently so. Apparently, this is what it says here.
That's just a bloody greenwashing idea. To what a load of something beginning with W.
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't need
that's why it's in QSY.
Yeah, it doesn't need.
Yeah, that's why it's in QSY. Yeah. DC3 is much better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, right. In that case, that just leads me to say thank you very much to Skydemon for sponsoring this. Thank you very much for staying with us for an extra 7 minutes. We really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you next week when there's lots of other good stuff happening. So have a great weekend flying, and we'll see you all next week when I'd have been released from my attic. See you then.
Cheerio.
Thanks all. Take care.
Just going to find the other thing.
No.
Where's it gone? Well, there it is. Come on, work.
I know where the end broadcast button is.
Yeah, no,